It really is quite clear. The Grand Slams of show jumping are the only deserved 5 stars we get to see all year. Horse Bytes is presented by my show advisor. Welcome to Horse Bytes, your 5 and 10 5-star show jumping, all in just 10 minutes. And we finally got the first Rolex Grand Slam of the 2025 season in Den Bosch this weekend. We saw great sport and the first ever French winner in Simone Delestre with Cayman Jolly Jumper, who now begin their quest as the new live contender. We'll cover the Grand Prix shortly, but overall, we saw lots of interesting sport this weekend. We got the 4-rider horse swap exhibition between world number 1 Henrik von Eckermann, Philip Weishaupt, Michael van der Vleuten, and unexpected winner Willem Greve. Cool concept? Didn't necessarily highlight top sport, but it was certainly a good sales pitch for Michael van der Vleuten's homebred horse La Ligue, whom everyone seemed to find easy and conventional. Plus, as a spectator, have a listen to Lily Keenan's thoughts on the class.
So on Thursday, having the Best of Champions where the 4 riders, they rotate through their horses, actually I think was an amazing concept. We've lost that, obviously, at the WEG. And I think in this setting, it made a lot of sense. It wasn't necessarily the rider's best horse. It was maybe a younger horse or a dealing horse. And each of the riders had never sat on each other's horses. To watch, it was really educational. I think for the crowd, it was a fantastic experience to kind of see the rider's process and how quickly you have to adapt to a different type of horse. I was actually stunned with the results of it because some of the riders that I expected to really match certain horses, I was completely wrong. And I think that's really the beauty of our sport and why when you try a horse, you have to really think about, is it a match with me? Some of the best horses in the world, they are because of they found the right partner. And I think that there's also some horses that maybe we watch and think are so incredible and we'd love to ride, but they actually might not match one of us.
We also saw another 5-star in Co-Pexpan Mexico this week, but with the Grand Slam on in Den Bosch, it certainly didn't take center stage on the calendar. With 20 competitors, all from within the region, and 0 first-round clears, we saw a rare jump off of the 4 falters as Jose Antonio Chedraui Prom and Hara Minka P put in the fastest of the rounds to take the top spot. And Jos Verlooy is on an unbelievable winning streak. Yet another Grand Prix win out in Thermal on the lightning-fast Colossery Confusion, concluding their domination of the Californian Tour. But of course, it was indoor Brabant, the Grand Slam in Den Bosch, that ruled this weekend. Now this was a great class. Hard as can be, great field strength, tons of thrills and spills, and a worthy winner. The first round was absolutely brutal, with Dutch course designer Louis Konings challenging the hell out of the horses and riders. People had the first jump down, the last jump down, and pretty much everything else in between. The line across the middle with the long 4 strides into the pink double, starting and ending with Liverpools, was really hard because of its placement on this weird angle directly into the crowd, and horses had to stretch in the 4, but were backed off by B with the Liverpool, and then came down early on A. So we saw top combinations like Ken Farrington on Tulane and Mark Houtzacker and Dante all struggle. The white oxer directly away from the gate was brutal and caused desperation for a whole slew of riders from Dennis Lynch and Vista Grand to Daniel Deusser and Gangster. This jump was a killer, hard to get set up well, huge, so needed tremendous power, and it just kept coming up on either the desperate long stride or the one too many stride. Not pleasant and probably sucked to ride to. And the real pain and punishment came at the last double of oxers, 1 stride to finish the rough track. A huge scope test and just a brutal way to end a round. Horses are tired. Oxer always rides really long and off a bending line. Just a really hard combination no matter how you cut it. And remember, Den Bosch is a tiny, tiny ring. With huge jumps in a crowded arena, you feel like you're in a pinball machine just trying to survive. But thanks to Tessa Ottendorf, who was reporting for Horse Bytes, we get to hear the course designer sum it up beautifully.
Talking about results is always, people say how many clears, but for me the best result is when you see the horses jump on their best.
Yeah.
That you see really nice sport horses who are in their strengths do it easy. Yeah? It looks easy, but it isn't definitely not easy. But that gives, I think, the best thrill. On the other hand, you want to have some excitement in the drama.
Yeah.
So for me it's nice that here and there some balls are falling.
For those who didn't succeed, and that was mostly everyone since we only saw 3 clear, the pressure and prestige clearly got to some of the world's best. Martin Fuchs was too deep to the vertical with Leonie J. Laura Kraut with Ballotinu couldn't make the adjustment into the triple, and riders like Max Kuhner and Gregory Wathelet all made major unforced errors. Have a listen to why Harry Smulders thinks that is.
I think also this pressure is probably more in the responsibility towards our horses. We want to give them the best chance, and we don't want to mess up as a rider. And that I think there we put ourselves pressure.
Eventually, Simone de Lest would prevail with the only double clear effort on Cayman Jolly Jumper, perhaps the most athletic animal in the entire competition. Well, at least in my humble opinion. They were technically 13 seconds slower than Scott Brash, who finished in second, but with him and Yuri Manser each having a fault, the trophy went to Simone for his first Grand Slam victory. Overall, this was as good as our sport gets. A merciless first round, which took very few prisoners, despite the overwhelmingly stacked start list. We got great entertainment as we saw top rider after top rider falter and make erratic, poor decisions, which kept us on our toes the entire class. Actually, it's more like an inherent flaw in the system when you get a crazy first round and so few clears, which makes for great watching, but then makes for a lackluster jump off with so few in it. Especially when the first two each have faults and the last just goes for the slow clear. That all being said, I'd give Den Bosch an 8.6 for top prize money, field strength, course difficulty, and entertainment, despite the less exciting jump-off. Our industry is in a state of flux, and the decisions made in the coming months by governing bodies, event organizers, and media will help shape the future of our sport. After this episode, Horse Bytes will be going on hiatus, but before we step away, I want to leave you with this. I have loved this sport since I was 8 years old, and spent the better part of 30 years working towards reaching the top. As a junior, I rode 15 horses a day, both catch riding and on horses I purchased myself. I traveled the world from event to event, won 6 major 5-star Grand Prix, and made it to the Olympics. Yet somehow, I still have deep concerns about the future of our sport. Over the past year, Horse Bytes has explored some of the most pressing issues facing show jumping. Oversaturation and dilution, the optics of female domination, the public's understanding of horse welfare or misunderstanding, the financial inequities of purchasing and maintaining sport horses, and perhaps most troubling, the lack of meritocracy. I want to believe that talent and hard work will always prevail, but I have seen firsthand how money trumps effort at a systemic level. Now, at the last Olympics, we saw 3 of the sport's best win individual medals, and we also saw someone who with seemingly unlimited resources outperform his more experienced teammates. But the public perception of show jumping as a wealthy playground persists, largely because we lack financial regulation. Could price caps on 5-star horses help level the playing field? Could fostering a culture of accountability against rampant sexual misconduct protect countless victims? The reality is that most people in this industry are struggling, and few are working to change that. Show jumping doesn't have massive profit pools. Despite the staggering sums exchanged in horse sales, the net revenue is almost entirely wiped out by the cost of participation. And with exclusivity and success so heavily tied to the quality of the horse one can afford, the sport feels less like an athletic competition and more like patronage, wealthy backers funding a performance rather than pure competition based on merit. That said, week after week, we witness extraordinary displays of skill, training, and competitive spirit from the world's best horses and riders. Show jumping, like all horse sports, requires perseverance, underscored by the fact that the Olympic combination with the highest win probability still only had an 8% chance of success. Those who reach the top are those who persist despite the dismal odds and the minimal glory. Show jumping is beautiful, no question. It is challenging, and above all, it is about connection with another living being, with an athlete whose abilities often surpass our own. We must never lose sight of what horses give us and the role they play in elevating this industry. And when done right, like this weekend in Den Bosch, our sport can be unbelievable to consume and be a part of. And so the question remains, is show jumping truly a sport? Or is it destined to remain a veritable hobby?